Hello, and welcome back to the Radio Gamescast. As always, I'm your host, Ryan, and today I'm joined by my lovely duo of co-hosts, Brett
Hello.
and Wyatt.
Hello.
We're super excited and full of joy to talk about the greatest thing in video games, aka Jeff Keighley's Game Awards, and Jeff Keighley's Kicks, more specifically.
Don't the Game Awards have this thing where it's like gaming's greatest night or best night or something like that?
I have
The best night in games.
Biggest
I'm not looped into the Game
or
Awards
something like
hype
that.
train generally.
And yeah, here we are. We've made 2 videos on them almost in a row.
Hey, we're always going to do the same thing. We did the same thing last year. We did the same thing the year before it. We're not going to stop until the Game Awards stop.
Yeah.
No, sir.
And then we'll have our own.
Even if it's a show that doesn't always deliver, it's usually at least fun to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And as we always say, it's always still fun to watch with your friends. So,
yeah. So, context for how we're talking about the Game Awards this time. So, things are a little bit different from last year. We didn't get to do a live reaction because I was in California for the Game Awards to do a theater viewing with the Blizzard team. So, I watched it there in that context. So, my opinion of things is colored by watching it in a large group relevant to the games industry, which is going to mean my take on things may not be fully accurate to what most people will think.
I mean, that's how most people watch the Game Awards, is in a theater with a bunch of people.
Of course.
I think they did a larger theater presence this year, because last year they did the same thing where you could watch it at some theaters. I think this year they had more of a larger scale thing. But yeah, I watched it differently. Also, I work for Blizzard, so we're going to kind of go through quickly anything that does with Blizzard stuff, because it's not helpful for me to tell you what to think about Blizzard stuff because I work there, and that's disingenuous. So, form your own opinions about the Blizzard stuff. Alright, moving on. Talk about the show. Watch the Game Awards. Jeff Keighley promised it would be the shortest one. I don't know if technically it was.
I don't know if it was the longest one either, but it felt long. It felt super long.
It felt
I don't
long.
know.
I do think it maybe felt a little bit less cringe than last year.
It was less cringe. There was nothing that made me like roll my eyes to the back of my head. There was nothing that made me want to get up and stop watching. Like every time, usually there's one thing.
Like the Fast and Furious game that one.
Yes,
was really just the stopping point for me.
Yeah. And for context as well, I was at work while this was streaming, while this was going, and I think when I got home from work, it was still going, and I think I logged on right at best indie game, I think, is when I started watching, and then I watched it for the rest of the way there, and then
so you still caught a pretty good chunk of it.
Yeah, I watched any major announcements before then, and I quickly looked over the other nominees. That's it.
Yeah, I think the main difference this year is the pre-show was a lot more important, it seems like.
Yes.
Which is also weird because the theater showing did not show the pre-show. It rolled B-roll of a bunch of games that are coming out, so we saw a bunch of Forspoken gameplay and stuff like that, which, I don't know, didn't really feel valuable to me.
Yeah, at this point.
But, yeah, I wish I had seen the actual pre-show ahead of time, or when the live show was happening, and not yesterday as I was catching up on it. But yeah, we started off with a bang with the pre-show. We got the Dead Cells Castlevania collaboration.
Yeah,
which I'd say is a pretty significant thing. That's a very cool collaboration to be happening.
I mean, what an honor for a game to feature content from the game that probably inspired it most and created the genre that it's in. I don't know who the developers of Dead Cells are, but wow, they must be so excited and honored by this opportunity to begin with.
They've done a really good job with all of it.
How many games in general are actually have the name Castlevania on it, in it officially, that are coming out, that are new? I feel like this is the first one in a while. We've had some remakes of the GBA Castlevania.
Good way for Konami to make money off of their franchise.
I know,
actually developing anything.
Crazy.
See,
let's do this.
Oftentimes when you start to see a legacy franchise start to cameo in other games and stuff, sometimes leads up to like a full release of something, and they're like kind of starting a hype train, but it's Konami, so like who knows?
Yeah.
But what one could hope that there's some sort of Castlevania revival in the works, but who knows?
Who knows when we'll see that? And none of the creators are likely going to be involved anyway. So it's a hard thing to really want to care about, because it's not going to be the Castlevania that we know and love. Maybe we'll get a cool interpretation of Castlevania, but hard to tell. All right, after we saw the Dead Cells Castlevania thing, which is coming Q1 2023, and looks very good. We don't have a ton of detail on what is in this, but it at least seems like a Dracula fight and possibly some Belmont weapons. Be cool to have. All right, best mobile game. First award of the night, Marvel Snap. Sure. I've played Marvel Snap. It is very good. Haven't played most of the other games, though, so let's move on. Vampire Survivors has a mobile port that is free, and notably, it is the whole game that's free. And the way the monetization in this works is you watch ads to get boost type things, but if you ignore the ads permanently, you're basically just playing regular Vampire Survivors. So hey, if you want to play just regular Vampire Survivors on your phone, good way to go.
Interesting.
And there's not even an option to buy anything, from my knowledge in this. You can't actually pay for anything. So
that's nice of them.
Neat little actually free mobile game. Moving on. Valiant Hearts Coming Home is a World War II, or World War I, actually, adventure game. That's coming to a mobile thing.
I remember playing the first one. I think it was also on my phone many years ago. I don't remember much of it, but it was kind of like point and click, like a 2D side-scrolling point and click, correct?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's a side-scrolling adventure game.
One of the very few games that is set in World War I that we have. So that's a fairly unique setting, I'd say.
Looks neat. All right, Returnal coming to PC. Sony following up on their PC promises. Some cool looking stuff. Returnal's a good game. I'm sure PC people will be happy to get a hand on it, but I think odds are if you own a computer that can run Returnal, you probably already own a PS5 or have the funds to get one.
Yeah.
Unless your issue is finding one, which has gotten a little bit easier, but not super easy.
A little bit.
Little bit easier, but not the most easy thing. Who knows? Fun game, though. Best fighting game winner is Multiversus. I think the only other game I really would prop up in this category is Sifu. But I also don't know that I would count Sifu as a fighting game in terms of the rest of the games that are nominated. In terms of the fitting the word fighting, yeah, definitely. But fitting the nominations here, I don't know. I don't think Multiversus is that great of a fighting game, but none of the big ones came out this year. So
I think
the only other big competitor is one that is a remake of it, not even a remake, like a remaster of a game that already released in the JoJo's game. So
I think the most I can say about Multiversus is that if you have a really, really hard time playing Smash Brothers online like I do, go for it.
Or if you want to play Shaggy. That's a compelling thing to have.
Or if you want to play Smash and you don't have a Switch.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
But.
Hey, well, if you also don't want to play Smash Brothers, we've got a Hellboy fighting game. Or Hellboy action-y thing.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Pretty good conversion of the comic book art style into 3D. I was actually really, really impressed with how well that turned out. I will say the animations looked a little bit wonky, a little stiff at times.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, in terms of converting that comic book art, wow, very impressive.
We also don't have a release window for this, so it could just be pretty early in development, and this could just be a largely trailer fakery. So
the only thing
improve.
The only thing that was kind of odd about it is that for a second it seemed like during the trailer it kind of seemed like a cutscene or just like a cinematic, and then there was a moment where they wanted it to look like gameplay, but I'm like, was that actual gameplay? It was very unclear.
I think we're gonna have that complaint for a couple of trailers.
Yes.
Yeah,
for sure. I get why teams do this because it does look cool, but as soon as we're done with it, I'm left wanting to see what the actual gameplay looks like.
Yeah.
It
hard to
feels
follow
like
up on.
we had like a push for the last couple of years where it's like, dude, if we're not seeing gameplay in these trailers, like we don't even like it. Like, what's the point? And like everyone was really vocal about it. For the last couple of years, we've been really good with that. And then this year, it feels like for that, like the ball has just been completely dropped, and we're back to where we were before, where it's just like CG trailer that looks nice, but I want to see the game.
Another trend that we're seeing with these trailers is that like they'll come out with the big cinematic trailer at the big game show or whatever, and then like maybe a day later they'll do a live stream with actual gameplay. It's like, why isn't this in the actual show? You're just leaving the big like hype cinematic for the big show and then having gameplay after. What was it?
I think
Time
a
Bots
lot
or
of
whatever
that.
did that.
I will say I don't like the gameplay afterwards unless it's like concurrent. Like if I can go after the show immediately and look up gameplay of a game I'm interested in, then I think that does its job. But I think either have gameplay that exists already or have gameplay that is at the show. Don't wait till like the day after is my advice in that, because I think that way people can actually like look up the game and see excitement, unless it's a thing that isn't ready yet. Because you can totally do a CG trailer if it's a thing that like, I think the Hellboy game is a good example of something that I think the CG trailer is a good kind of use case for.
Yeah, because we don't have a
release window.
Well, it's a like I was saying, it's a good conversion of the art style. I think it just works well as like a, hey, here's a Hellboy game that looks like Hellboy. That's the first step. You got to make it look like Hellboy.
Yep. All right, let's buzz through some esports stuff because none of us care. Doesn't mean you shouldn't, but none of us care. We have Valorant for best esports game.
What were the other ones in this category again?
Who knows? Is my answer. We talked about them, and I think we had the exact same opinion of it's gonna be Valorant or something that had already won. We have best esports athlete, Yay, who plays Valorant. We have best esports team, Loud, League of Legends team. Best esports coach, Bazooka, who's another Valorant person. And the best esports event is the League of Legends LCS World Championship, which makes sense. It was like, I think, one of the most viewed esports events ever this year. So, League going strong. Good for them.
Yay.
Moving on. Horizon VR. We got a little bit more Horizon VR stuff.
This looks neat. I mean, VR has never really been a field that I have really dipped my toes in that much, or that I'm really that interested in, to be quite honest with you. But it looks cool. I feel like having a Horizon game as your like as one of your big like VR titles to promote your new VR headset was probably a good choice, just given the that world is something that people really are attached to, including myself. So seems like a good choice. Seems cool. Probably not going to get a VR headset anytime soon to play it, but you know.
Yeah, it's not a VR system seller for me. Looks cool. Maybe I'll play it in a couple of years, but who knows? Post Trauma looks really cool. It's a Resident Evil Silent Hill fixed camera angle horror-ish game. Looks fun.
Yeah. This is the one with the older guy that you play as, right?
I think so.
I think. If not,
if I can put the right trailer to the right thing. It was the only fixed camera angle looking thing in the show. So I think so.
Listen, dude, so much of this like 3.5 hour experience is just a blur. I'm trying to make sure
trying to keep up.
But this is cool though.
I haven't even seen all the reveals for everything because
there's so many.
Yeah, I mean it's clearly Silent Hill inspired. This has the PT initials. I've heard a lot of excitement for this. I'm not, I'll correct the I wasn't a survival horror person. I'm becoming more of a survival horror person. So maybe by the time I catch up with Resident Evil, I'll be more interested in this. But as of right now, I'm still working my way through the backlog of survival horror classics. So, all right, Viewfinder, a puzzle space manipulation game. Take photos, and you convert them into 3D things. Looks neat.
Looks very cool.
Super cool. I just super cool like tech. It seems like.
Yeah, this reminds me of I don't remember the game that came out a while back. That was you could pick up an object and your perspective would change the size of it.
Oh,
Superliminal.
That's what they say it on the site that we're looking at here. But that's what I thought too.
They do.
But it seems like I haven't seen too much like 100% of the gameplay is super lineal, but someone that I was living with at the time played it and finished it, and they were like, "This game's super overrated. I wish they did more with the perspective changey thing." And this literally looks like this, like just that, but the game.
Yeah, Superliminal was just
hopefully-
very short. It's not a long
yeah,
game,
right.
and it is a game that like kind of has one use case for the perspective stuff most of the time. Because it really, once you learn how to use it, it's basically just about size. There's not a whole lot else you do with it. Whereas this looks a little bit more almost witnessy in terms of manipulating things around you to use them. It looks cool. Atomic Heart got shown again. Atomic Heart has looked good basically every time it's been shown off, and it's in February. So I think we'll see how this game turns out, because it's been going for a long time. This is one of those long been... development time games.
Yeah. Worth noting, the score is done by Mick Gordon, I believe. So, the music is always, for this game, has always sounded pretty freaking sweet, as you might expect. So it's cool. I like retrofuturism as a setting, and this kind of has like a Russian like 60s retrofuturistic kind of look to it. So I'm looking forward to that, definitely.
All right, Relic Hunter's Legend, a co-op shooter. Looks like Nuclear Throne. Coming out.
It does.
Soon-ish. We don't have an actual date, but soon-ish. Closed beta is on Steam. Oh, I skipped Scars Above. I did skip Scars Above.
That I vaguely cared about, Ryan. How could you?
Bro, well, tell us why you vaguely care about Scars Above.
The trailer started and I was like, "Oh, is this more Returnal?" It's not, but it sure does look like it.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
But I don't think it's a bad thing to have more games that look like Returnal, because Returnal looks very cool in this game, even though it has a similar, lady in white space future suit in green environment look. It does it good, but it looks pretty sick. I don't know if it says. I don't think we know what it's on yet. I'm hoping it starts on more things than Returnal does, so that I can play it close to when it comes out.
It says PS4, PS5, Xbox, and PC.
Oh, there you go. Everything.
There you go. Good platform list. That's available in February as well. So coming soon. All right. Yeah, Relic Hunters. I don't think any of us are too crazy into this type of game. So.
Not really.
Great for people who are. Among Us has a new mode. I don't think any of us have even really played Among Us. So.
No.
See, I've played Werewolf, so I think
I've played every variation of game that inspired Among Us, but not Among Us. All right, After Us, which is not Among Us, but is after Among Us, is a neat little look like Restore a Wasteland game. I really like the trailer for this one. It looked almost a little spooky because your main character girl has some weird looking skin. So, neat. I love the visuals here. All right, moving on. Replaced is, I think, one of the most visually striking things we got to see. Super cool use of almost like that HD 2D art style, but moved into a different genre entirely than JRPG. It's an almost like adventure game with what looks like a little bit of side-scrolling action thrown in the mix. I thought this looked great. 2023 for date. I think we might have actually seen this game before as well.
Yes,
I feel like I have it wishlisted already on Steam or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that headline for their website is replaced coming to Xbox in 2022.
Well,
I believe it's been pushed from into 2023.
Yeah.
But yeah, it looks very cool. I love the aesthetic of this. I think we saw this at the last Xbox showcase. We saw this. But yeah, I'm super interested in this. Looking forward to playing it when it comes out. Best family game. The Nintendo Award.
Yeah.
Kirby and the Forgotten Land wins the Nintendo Award. No surprises there, I think, from anyone. That was one that I think we gave the popular vote to. So.
Mm-hmm.
All right, moving on. Street Fighter 6 has some wacky minigames, baby. Hope you like cooking food.
It looks like this game is just we haven't had fun in a while. What if everyone just had a lot of fun and they just threw everything into Street Fighter, which is great.
Sometimes you
Fun
need a
and-
little bit
and-
of that.
Fun in a competitive fighting game, is that even allowed?
It's
Dude,
if,
Tekken games for a very long time have had competitive bowling modes. I
Yeah.
feel like most people aren't aware of this, but it is a real thing.
That's
And at
fantastic.
some point, they have sold like entirely bowling-focused DLC. I'm not joking. It's real. All right. After that, pre-show is over. Jeff steps on the stage, and a wild Al Pacino appears.
he looked like he didn't know where he was, and then he said he didn't. It was awesome.
It was great. I loved how many people you could tell during the show like were just on the edge of like being able to read the teleprompter. And at that point, get some glasses.
Yeah,
Some glasses
seriously.
or something. Just for the show. It's okay. We would rather you're able to see. But Al Pacino had a nice little speech about how he doesn't play video games. And gets to present the Best Performance Award for Christopher Judge, who, oh man, really set the tone for the show.
God.
No, okay. I didn't
almighty.
watch. I haven't watched this. I've only heard about it. What happened?
Well, you have to watch this. It's incredible.
Dude, it's like it feels like when one of us is just having like a really hard time talking about like whenever you ask me to talk about Silent Hill and I just go on like a 15-minute like and there's this but also and the devs and it's just that for 15
You know what this felt like?
minutes.
This felt like someone trying to figure out how to drive a stick shift car, but not having anyone to teach them and just trying to figure it out.
Oh my
So
god!
this
I'm
is
seeing
so
these videos going for like 9 or 10 minutes.
Yes. And it took them that
No.
long before they started playing like the "Okay, get off the stage" music.
You
and
can
then like
tell
after
that, like,
they
Keeley
like, a
wanted
2-minute
to let
warning.
him have his time because it's Christopher Judge, right? This man
Yeah.
commands respect. He had this incredible gold suit. Oh, looking good, Chris Judge.
He had the legendary skin.
Walks up, buttery smooth voice. Like everyone likes Christopher Judge. But then he just starts going on, obviously, like this poorly rehearsed, extremely from the heart, but very long speech. And then they start playing music midway through to try to like cue him to finish, and he just goes harder. And his final, I think the ending notes of his speech are really good, where he like actually thanks the team and everything, and wraps up, and has a good inspiring quote. But the rest of it is a lot of just like him calling out the names of people.
Yeah.
That nobody knows who they are. Talking about Cory Barlog and Eric Williams for a lengthy amount of time. Oh, this was a lot to handle. This is the speech I would expect for Game of the Year, not for Best Performance.
Yes.
As well as it also just having been like, there was a lot in here.
Mhm.
And a lot of it was good, but it was just a case of like, the time and place for a speech like this is probably not the first award of a show.
No.
Well, also with an award show like the Game Awards, we're like, no one really takes this seriously to begin with. So like, and I'm
yeah,
sure
but
this is
I think you deserve, if you win an award, you deserve your moment on stage, right? For a little while.
like, no, and like if you're any of the games or studios or whatever that are up there for it still means a lot to you. I don't want to take that away from it for a second, but it's just not the time and place.
I also think it's largely a case of Christopher Judge is largely known for Kratos. He's largely a one character voice actor, which I think changes the context of things a little bit compared to people that voice a lot of characters, and so would have it wouldn't be as unique of an experience to them.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think he has a lot more emotional stuff in this, especially because it's mocap and whatnot. You're doing a lot more in the character work. But yeah, good speech, super long. It was really funny past a certain point because you could tell they had no plan for what if a speech runs long to get someone off stage. So you could really tell the issue there. All right, next. They drop the thing that nobody was ready for, that Wyatt and I probably collectively lost our minds for. The sound in the theater when this Hades 2 got revealed was incredible. Because you could tell the whole time, everyone knew it was going to be Supergiant. As soon as Jeff starts hyping up an indie studio, you're like, okay, it's Supergiant. Obviously.
Well, also the art style as well.
Well, before he
Like,
even
you
shows
looked
anything,
at
you
it.
hear him go,
Okay.
like, an indie studio that has been here and won awards before. It's Supergiant, right?
Mm.
That's who you're talking about, because anyone else would be a disappointment. I'm sorry to other indie developers, but Supergiant is top of their game every time.
Jesus.
Supergiant doesn't miss, all right? Everyone else
Wow.
misses just a tiny little bit, and that's fine, but Supergiant doesn't. So, Hades 2 got announced. It looks great. We saw a really, really cool trailer with the new main character. Looks fun. I'm very into this. It's going to launch the same way Hades did in early access in 2023.
Yeah,
I think you'd be hard pressed to find someone who isn't excited about this announcement.
It's interesting because I saw that and like immediately I was super amped, super excited. This is coming from someone who didn't start playing Hades until like 2020, and so I guess naturally in the back of my head I thought that was the release date, right? And so I was like, wow, this feels really soon for a sequel. No, it came out in 2018, so
Yeah.
there's been enough time.
Yeah, it's been a good amount of time. I think it's also going to be a little while in early access, but Hades 1 did early access extremely well, so I expect this will also follow that.
This is a game that I'm going to be getting when it comes out on early access. I want to be there for that.
See the new updates as they come.
Yeah, I want to be there this time.
And the great thing about how Hades did early access is it was often they would pair mechanical updates with content updates, so you always had new stuff to play through while you toyed with the new systems.
Yeah.
So you had like a really good flow of never feeling like you had to replay the game. You could always just kind of keep going on the same save file. After that, we got another hard-hitting reveal: Ken Levine's Judas.
Right.
It's let me make sure I get the team right for this, but they're behind a bunch of people from BioShock. Are working on this really cool. I guess it's going to be a first-person shooter. Yeah, we do know it's a first-person shooter. I don't know why I'm saying.
It looks very BioShock.
Yeah.
BioShocky, but we get the sense there's a little twist here. I think this, especially with the naming of Judas in the end, we're like fixing what you broke as the tagline. I'm so curious. It's Ghost Story Games.
Now, I seem to remember there's been a lot of news stories covering the development of this game and how it's been a bit of a difficult development road for these guys. And it's totally possible that I could be thinking of something else, but I seem to remember like whatever this news stories would be like, oh, whatever game Ken Levine is working on, there's been some behind the scenes stuff going on with it. I can't confirm any of that, of course, but when I was watching this, I was like, this looks really good.
There was,
so
I did just look this up. Around January of this year, there were some reported issues of the game being in development hell, but it looks like it's at least it's got a full announcement and release date now. So
a trailer, so
yeah.
It's also the studio was founded in 2014. It seems like I would allot 2 years for the studio to get an identity and like learn how to work together, and then after that is probably when development started. It's still lengthy, but more understandable.
You have to keep in mind too, not every studio is a Kojima Productions where like they form and then they just start working on a game. Oftentimes studios work on contract work for other projects first before
or they'll be floating ideas, all sorts of stuff. All right, after that we got Bayonetta Origins, Cereza and the Lost Demon. This is wild. This is very
funny to me.
It's a Platinum developed action game becoming a third-person platformer. I mean, it looks very pretty, so I'm interested, but at the same time, most people that like Bayonetta didn't necessarily love Bayonetta 3. Mm-hmm. So there's a little bit of a trust issue between Platinum and the fan base right now. So hopefully this is good. It comes out in March.
It's very, very quick turnaround time compared to Bayonetta 3.
I mean, for a game like this, not huge surprising. I imagine this was in development by a different team and less people, because it doesn't look as expensive to develop as Bayonetta 3.
Because is there like a mini game or something in Bayonetta 3 that looks similar to?
There is a secret chapter that plays like this.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
So it definitely was worked on during Bayonetta 3.
Mhm.
All right, there's some music from God of War that was very good. Crazy hurdy-gurdy player going at it.
I love seeing that thing. It is
Yeah.
I want one. I've wanted one for a really long
It
time
looks so good.
because it's just dude, I just
It's
want
my favorite instrument to use in Sea of Thieves. So
Oh, you can actually play one.
Yeah,
in
you can
Sea
play
of
with Sea of
Thieves.
it's awesome.
That's pretty sick.
It's
That-
awesome.
that's the
great.
one thing I've heard about Sea of Thieves that's made me like, oh, never mind. I gotta try that.
Play the hurdy-gurdy. Yeah, a great little first musical performance. Moving on, we got the Best Debut Indie Award, and it goes to Stray.
I really like the wording that this hard drive article uses.
For those who are wondering, we are following to make sure we get announcements in the right order. We're using the harddrive.net Game Awards recap if you would like to follow along.
Because it's God knows it would have taken us forever to make coherent notes for this ourselves.
With
But-
anything indie. Oh no, I'm sorry. Keep going.
Well, because I just wanted to say, clearly the person that wrote this really likes Vampire Survivors, so this is biased somewhat. But they say
Picking and biased.
I'm sure Stray is a fine game, but Vampire Survivors was robbed. Later, spoilers, Stray will win Best Indie as well, making this award extra pointless. Which really makes you think, why?
This is my huge issue with this. I don't mind Stray winning. I liked Stray a lot.
Yeah.
I like all these other games a lot, but this has left me feeling that both Vampire Survivors and Tunic are robbed.
Yeah.
One of them also needed an award, not just Stray. This is really just the case of like, man, I feel like the Game Awards would be so much more entertaining if they limited it to one award per game. Even if that's a little bit of like an obtuse limitation, it would lead to it to be a much more fun chase for awards and a lot more love to go around for the developers.
Which is an issue that I'm sure we're going to bring up later.
Yes,
because will we?
Man, exactly what we thought would happen happened.
Our worst fears, the worst timeline.
And again, not a knock against Stray, but I really wish
no.
that we got to spread some indie love here and get something aside from Stray in here.
I really wanted Tunic to get something because
I would have given Tunic Best Indie and Stray Best Debut Indie. Would have been my pick because I think Stray is a really incredible debut, but not the best indie game that came out.
See, but how is Tunic not also an incredible debut? Because
I mean, it's an incredible debut, but best indie, I think, covers everything, right?
Exactly.
Sure.
It's like Game of the Year. It's like that's the catch-all. If you win that, you are considered being great at everything else as well.
And I'd make the argument too that if Tunic was more of just like a 2D Zelda clone with a really nice art style, I feel like my reaction to this would have been different. But it does so many more interesting things on top of that that I feel like it really should have gotten more love than it did.
Yep.
In my opinion.
All right. After that, we got a Destiny 2 Lightfall trailer, which was really good, I thought. This was a really cool trailer. At least visually.
I did watch it.
It had some super cool cyberpunk imagery. Oh. I don't actually see. I'm the kind of person I play Destiny 2 actively, but at the same time, I don't try to keep up with the seasonal stuff generally. So I'm not someone who's like a diehard Destiny 2 fan, but I am a big fan of cyberpunky city neon designs, and this looks really fun from that aspect. And grappling hooks in games are always a good idea. So big fan of grappling hook in Destiny. All right, Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. We saw that Batman. As Kevin Conroy's final act, he is showing up in Suicide Squad as Batman.
Yeah. So I mean, this article that we're following here kind of already touches on it, but it was a weird. It was kind of strange because it's like his final performance as Batman is like some sort of like hypnotized weirdo murderer.
The game is called Kill the Justice League. My God. Like, jeez, dude. It's super awkward. Which makes me think, like, that's really, like, that's obvious, right? Like, I think everyone reacted to that as, like, oh, it's cool, it's his last thing. A little bit weird that it's for this, though. Which makes me think that maybe there's, like, he, like, takes his normal pills or something and becomes like normal again or something. I hope,
especially because this one
don't
is
know.
confirmed to be like an actual sequel to the Arkham games.
Yeah, it would be weird.
And to be clear, too, this isn't Rocksteady's fault, because obviously they couldn't have planned for something.
Well,
like
this. I feel like it would be far worse if he had done the voice acting for this to cut it out. Like, that is so much worse.
No, I don't think anyone wants that. It was just a weird, like, hey, thanks, Kevin, which is like a nice sentiment as it's his last performance as Batman. But the context of the Batman that he's playing here is a little strange.
I mean, what can you do? There's no
exactly.
change to be made there, I think.
No. It's again, it's not their fault, but it is unfortunately just a little strange.
Keeping us moving, so we are still sticking to some semblance of a time schedule because we have a lot to talk about. Party Animals showed up again. So this was a game shown off in 2020 at I believe the Game Awards. It might have been an Xbox show that has been apparently rebuilt from scratch and is about ready to release.
Wait, rebuilt from scratch since we last saw it?
Yeah, because this was a game that was announced as being coming out relatively soon after the last time it showed, which was in 2020. And then it radio silence for 3 years. Or 2 years. Really weird. Looks fun, though.
It looks cool, yeah. I mean, it looks like a Gang Beasts type party game.
But it looked like it had a few more party gamey modes here, too. Like, not just Gang Beasts. Almost like a little bit of Mario Party thrown in there. But
it's got that kind of, like, wonky, soft body physics, kind of like Brawl almost. Which, I'm always down for more of that type of party game, because those are such a good time with the right group of friends.
Yeah, it looks really good too. I think this is a great art style. So looks like fun.
I have to take back what I said before. This didn't make me get up and leave. They did scream, I believe this is Sparta in the middle of this trailer.
Oh yeah, they did.
That was questionable. I don't know how. I feel like if you bring that up in a marketing meeting, you should just get blacklisted from the industry by this point. Yeah, it's 2022. Not a single person in their right mind is going to laugh for that.
And you, much like Xerxes in the movie, got kicked. You just left.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I can't help but feel there was
you were kicked into the bathroom.
There was a wave of confusion over the theater when this happened, because I think people had kind of just forgotten that this was a joke for a long time, and then it happened, and it was just like, oh, that happened.
A little bit weird.
It's like seeing the Sparta shoe show up in Dead Cells now. It really just dates the game back to a different era of development. All right, Last of Us Part 1 coming to PC.
Cool.
That's about it. All right, best adaptation.
PC's getting a really good game.
Yeah, best adaptation goes to Arcane League of Legends. I'm perfectly happy with that.
I would have preferred this over Cyberpunk in my humble opinion.
My only thing with this winning over Cyberpunk is that Edgerunners feels complete. Arcane does not feel complete. But I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, because we know we're getting a season 2, and if it's the same quality level, it's going to be very good. So
yeah,
it's just a difference in terms of what I would generally look for in shows. Is I like things that have an ending. Yeah,
and speaking personally, part of the reason I prefer Arcane is just that I felt a lot stronger about these characters than I did with Cyberpunk, but also anime, as I've said many times before, is just not my thing. And so there's a style preference going on for me personally, but
yeah, I also think Arcane probably had a harder transition to TV, because Cyberpunk is an easy thing to transition into visual media outside of games, whereas Arcane is how do you even take League of Legends and make it a TV show?
Yeah.
And especially make it a good TV show. So
it's impressive what they were able to do with the material that they have.
Yeah. Not to downplay Edgerunners, because I think Edgerunners is also very good. But
yes, no,
Arcane definitely deserved this.
Definitely not Uncharted. I still don't know what it was doing on that list.
That was filling out the 5 nominees. You know?
Got it,
yeah.
Got to give Tom Holland his shout out.
All right. Do you though?
Next, we got a cool trailer moment for Jedi Survivor with a neat whoever the old master is here in a back to tank showing up on stage and then coming down with a trailer.
That was pretty cool. I thought.
Looks great.
Yeah.
I think the exciting things to me is it looks like there's a little bit more of a focus on switching styles in combat that I'm excited about.
I've heard so many fan theories and a lot of like hopes and dreams that this mystery person in the back to tank is a Star Killer, which would be a really, really kind of fun reference or like fun little cameo, but
doesn't look like
probably
it.
Not. Probably not.
I agree that'd be fun, but it does not look like it. But hey, I could be convinced. Weird clone aging.
I will say, main character man went from looking more like Wyatt to looking like Alex Labella, and he's not here now, so I can't. I like when he showed up on the screen. I was like, "What that? Like the head, like silhouette and everything." Woo! He's actually gone right now because he's doing mocap for Jedi Survivor right now. He couldn't make it to the podcast.
Yeah. Looks good. Releases in March, so coming up soon. Next we saw Earthblade, which is from the Celeste team. Looks very fun.
Looked cool.
This looks like cool. Almost. I wonder if there's going to be like RPG elements to this, or if it's just a side-scrolling action game. Either way, I'm in.
They did try.
Game, so.
I feel like with the trailer and the way the camera was panning, they wanted to imply that these levels would be way more explorative than like Celeste, which was very, linear.
It's an implied Metroidvania.
Yeah.
What a cool genre.
We'll see how true that is, because I certainly think they have not committed to that, and it could just be monster slaying platformer, which I'm happy with either way. Moving on, we saw Dune Awakening, which is the weird Dune MMO that we don't really know what that is going to play like. I mean, the trailer got the vibes right, so
yes, so much. I think this, because we've seen this before. This is like the second.
Yes,
or
we saw the
third,
reveal trailer a while ago.
I feel maybe you guys had a different experience, but I had the same experience watching this as the first time, because it just did a bunch of Dune things in the trailer, and I was like, Dune game, oh, this looks great. And then the trailer ended with MMO, and I was like, like both times, like the original one was like, that's weird, and then I was like, oh wait, yeah, they're still doing that. That's weird, because it just looks like a normal Dune game.
My main question is, what does adding other people to my experience do to make the experience of a Dune game better?
Exactly.
Maybe they'll have an answer for that, because the Conan game, from what I understand from people who are into that type of game, is really good. So maybe they'll do a great job. We got a Forspoken trailer. I mean, it looks fine. This is a demo on PS5. I'll play it later. We'll talk about it at some point.
Probably.
It looks okay. That's the most I can really muster up about Forspoken right now. I think I think we're solidly landing in the place of the gameplay looks fine until we can get our hands on it.
It looks slick. It looks smooth. It looks cool. I don't know.
Yeah, I say it looks fine. I think the animations look slick and cool, but the actual gameplay to me reads as fine, because there's too much going on in the UI. There's all sorts of like weird dialogue issues. There was the trailer. They had a number pop up after you killed monsters that stayed on the screen for like 15 seconds, and that set me off. I was so like, this is staying here for so long. It's huge.
When you get to playing the demo, because like I said, I was watching Wrestling Ryan play this the night that it came out. When you open like the menu, I just want you to send me your reaction. Oh my god, I was
see it after this episode.
Like, holy crap! Again, I haven't played it, so I can't comment on the gameplay. But just looking at the menu, what tab you're on in the menu, the font is so big and covered in grime that it just trails off the screen. It's just anyway.
I can't wait. I'm just so curious, because this is the Final Fantasy 15 team, the Luminous team, which Final Fantasy 15 has some stuff going for it. It's also got a lot of stuff not going for it. So I really wonder what side of the fence this is going to land on. 15 ended where I think it's worth playing, but it's not anything super standout. Whereas Forspoken to me is reading as it's going to be either like a perfect 7 or a 2. I don't know which.
Oh my god.
That's what it's reading to me as right now. I could definitely be wrong. I'm open to being very wrong because I love Magic combat systems, and if it gets it right, ooh, give me those throwing spear fire attacks. They look real fun. Okay.
That little flame sword thing she has.
Yeah, it looks great. Moving on to Genshin Impact.
I'm gonna take a nap. I'll be back.
Jeff said it was a sneak peek at Yao Yao, so I'm...
Oh, so excited, dude. Can't wait for
Well, that
Yao
changes
Yao.
everything. Why didn't you open with that, Ryan?
I'm sure for people who play a lot of Genshin, this is good. I mean, Genshin's been going strong, so no knocking it. But I don't think any of us are Genshin people anymore. All right.
Or ever was.
I played it for a little bit. That was it. I played like 3 hours.
Right?
But a footnote in the life of Ryan.
It did not
I'll
leave
always
much of a
remember
Genshin
it
impact on
as
you.
a game that I would probably play a lot more if it were not free to play and
Listen,
didn't have
Alex
gacha
is gone.
mechanics.
I gotta make up for him and the puns that we're missing right now.
Oh
so.
yeah. Well, very punny game followed next. Death Stranding 2 got surprise dropped into our laps.
Yeah.
With a very lengthy trailer. I didn't expect Kojima to come out swinging like this. We saw a lot from this.
I think at this point he's like, yeah, people know what this is, and I don't have to release weird cryptic art bull crap. So whatever, let's just
Yeah.
show
I mean,
what we're
it
actually
still
gonna do.
was weird cryptic art, but it
Yeah.
had a little bit more substance behind it.
Yes.
We at least know the context of why there's a baby in Norman Reedus' throat.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you saw the little part where Kojima came out to talk for a little bit. Why? But he literally did say like I can't wait for people to just like make up a bunch of theories and weird stuff.
Yeah,
because
because Jeff asks him if you can get a hint about what the game's about, and Kojima's just like, watch the trailer.
Yeah.
It's great.
And I have no idea what's going on because I never finished the first one. I always pick it up and then I get really into it for like a week and then I hard drop it for like half a year. So
Yeah, I think this will be the push I need to finish Death Stranding 1.
Yeah.
Once this has a release date.
It was fascinating because all of the major characters from the first game were still in the trailer. And I don't know if any of those characters' appearances were supposed to be like a big twist or anything, because I don't know.
It
how
almost felt like
but...
Norman Reedus was meant to be a twist, but I wonder if that was more just the gray hair was meant to be a twist or something.
Maybe.
Of course, none of us have finished Death Stranding, so we don't know the context of.
And I barely remember
what the
the
game is
story that I did play. To be honest, I need some sort of recappers.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that game. I don't think that game would surprise kill off Norman Reedus, because to my knowledge, you could keep playing afterwards and keep building structures and whatnot. So, I imagine it's not that brutal.
Yeah.
And even if it is, Kojima tends to like ambiguity in his endings, so I wouldn't be surprised if it was left ambiguous.
Wait. Hideo Kojima. Ambiguity. Pardon?
Never would have guessed.
What?
Never at all.
This is new territory for him.
Yeah, I think the trailer was also super stylized. I liked that it had like the strands going everywhere. You could really tell what it was the whole time, and yet I still didn't believe that it was Death Stranding 2 until I saw the title card come up, even though I had seen every character that was in Death Stranding by that point.
And even then, it's just DS2, and that's a working title. So it could be called something completely different. I don't know.
Something different. You're right, Brett. This could be Dolphin Simulator 2. We'll find out.
And I wouldn't even be that surprised.
Maybe this is another Blue Box Studios trailer.
I also did love we got glass skin David Bowie at the end.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I cannot wait to see what the story of this game is like, because I love the look of weird organ people guitar. No idea what the context of this is going to be, but it looks great. All right. After that, we saw Immortals of Avium, which this is another one of those games that almost looked like it was going to go into gameplay, but then didn't.
Literally smash cut.
It's like the most teaser trailer I think I've ever seen, because it almost starts with gameplay and then it stops. And I was getting into it because it seems like it's kind of like a magic-based first-person shooter type of situation.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, it's a lot of ex like Call of Duty developers, I think.
Ex Call of Duty and Dead Space is what
Which
they build
is,
themselves as.
I
Ascendant
mean,
Studios.
that's pretty neat. I'm down. That sounds cool.
Right? There's
Conceptually,
games
anyway.
with good, impactful combat. So hopefully this can take a Magic first-person shooter and provide the same. We'll see if it's good. I'm excited. Best narrative pops up in the middle here, and we get God of War. Ragnarok winning this. I don't think
Deserved?
any of us have finished this, but I mean, I don't
No.
have any problem with this from what
I'll
I've
say
heard.
this. I'm a good 30 something hours in, right? And if the story keeps going the way it's going, this is well deserved because what I've played so far, it's been very, very good.
Yeah. The only thing I think I've heard people be a little bit salty about is immortality. Not getting recognition from this or the other or the best performance category because it's an FMV game that has a lot of narrative focus. I haven't played it, so I can't comment on whether or not I think it deserves it more than God of War, but
it's a Netflix game.
It's also on Game Pass.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
It has gotten extremely good reviews, so I'm sure it's great. But moving on, we saw Tekken 8. Looks neat.
Looks like a Tekken game.
Yeah, exactly.
From what I can tell.
Tiny bit of maybe gameplay in the middle here. Hard to tell, but probably. All right, moving on. Best art direction, Elden Ring. I'm not gonna complain, but even though I like Elden Ring, Scorn.
Yeah, it's
Poor Scorn.
We had the beginning of the end with the last award, where it's like this was that other game's like one thing, and now it's just it's gone. Like these all of these games deserve being there. That's why they were nominated, except for whatever.
Like,
ones
and
we
in the
forgot about
absence of
last
Sable
time.
for best art direction, I'm still happy with Elden Ring because I think Elden Ring does have phenomenal art direction, especially the like Nokron. Oh,
yes,
incredible.
I've seen a lot of areas in Elden Ring from like footage or when my friends show me bits of it, and I'm like, wow, that's fantastic.
Striking.
That looks incredible.
That is a great word to describe that game. So not disappointed. Not mad. I'm just a little disappointed that we're not spreading the love to Scorn.
This is another example where it's like there's a couple of, this is what we were worried about, a good maybe small handful of games that's soaking up all the awards.
It's the beginning of the end. Just wait until later. It gets even
worse. All right. After that, best VR game, Moss Book 2. That's fine. I've heard Moss 1 is very good. I've heard nothing about Moss 2, and I've heard nothing about most of the other games on this list.
Yeah.
So I have no frame of reference here. I have not played any of them. The only thing I play on my VR system right now is Beat Saber. I feel like that's the way a lot of people are now.
And here's my VR system right here. For anyone that's listening to our podcast and not watching, I am not holding anything.
All right. Okay. So, best sim strategy game. Now, this is one I'm going to take a moment and be a little salty, even though I don't... Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope won this award. I don't actually have a problem with it winning an award. I just think this category was up against some heavy hitters. It was up against Victoria 3, which is the Paradox grand strategy thing for this year that I've heard is phenomenal and is a striking simulation of economic struggles and whatnot. And then you had Total War Warhammer 3, which is a crowning achievement of the Total War franchise. Notably did not launch well. So I can excuse it not getting an award as not launching well, and the best mode being locked behind owning two other games.
Hold on. I gotta stop you right there. Are you telling me that a Total War game launches in an absolutely
never happened
horrific
before, except
state?
For every time that it did? Hey, it's in a great state now, but I think it is fair to judge it by what it launched as. Yep. So I don't have a problem with that losing. I do have maybe an issue with Sparks of Hope winning out over Victoria 3. I haven't played Sparks of Hope, so maybe it's better than I'm giving it credit for. It's the only thing I can add to it.
We did like the first one. You and I did like the first one.
We did like the first one. This is just one of those years where I think there maybe wasn't a clear winner here. So Sparks of Hope probably being the least broken game on this list, which I think I can say unequivocally even without having played it.
Which is funny because technically it's an Ubisoft game.
Oh god, you're right.
Just to throw your head through a loop.
Look, there's a lot of things that can break in a Total War and a Victoria game. So many numbers. If one number is off by a decimal point, the entire game stops.
That's true. That's true.
All right, best community support, Final Fantasy XIV. I think very little surprise here.
Yeah, deserved.
It's great.
I would say
deserved, and I think there was good competition this year. We had a lot of really good community support from all the nominees, so I think this was a good year for them.
Although, can I real quick?
Yeah.
In all of these like community support and those types of awards, how come Deep Rock Galactic is never up there? I'm just saying.
Because nobody on this team played Deep Rock Galactic to nominate it.
They deserve to be there just for being a paid game that's been out for more than 3 years, adding a battle pass and having it go over 100% smoothly.
You know what? I would have given them best ongoing support. Or not, yeah, best ongoing support, not best community support.
They have probably the best battle pass for a paid game I have ever seen.
And Wyatt, to make you feel better, they're not in the nominees, because if they were, they would just win. There would be no competition.
They were snubbed intentionally.
Exactly. It's all.
I mean, the Game Awards is now getting treated like the Oscars when we talk about things getting snubbed. So Jeff Keighley's accomplished his goal. All right, we saw Nightingale again. I think this game actually looks like it's shaping up. I'm very curious as to how the loop here is going to work. But you get to build cool looking structures. You jump through things with the realm cards they showed last time, where you like build a world to go into and explore. So I'm really curious how this game will play, and if it's going to play fine as a like cooperative thing, and rather than being like a PvP thing. So I don't think it has PvP. So I'm curious. I want to know, because if it's good, I'll probably play a lot of it.
I look at the setting and I'm like, yes, down for everything that I'm seeing. This like Victorian era, like mixed with like fantasy monsters and stuff. I'm here for it. And then I hear that it's an open world crafting survival game, and my brain just shuts right off.
I'm with you there. Yeah.
We are in a post Valheim world where I have seen that these open world survival games can be very well made and fun, and something that does interest me. But not everything can be Valheim. Not everything can be Valheim, and
it's now got to stack up to Valheim and Grounded as baselines, which is a pretty tough call to do. Yeah. If it does, I'll have a lot of fun with it. If it doesn't, it's probably going to be forgotten.
If you try it, Ryan, and you think I would like it because for some reason you just know my taste perfectly at this point.
I mean, I think it's going to be on Game Pass. I thought this was announced at an Xbox show.
Was it?
I could be wrong about that, but
if you say so.
I vaguely remember this being. Maybe not. I could be wrong. Oh yeah, it was last year's Summer Game Fest, so it was not the Xbox show. All right, best game for Impact went to As Dusk Falls. This is one of those categories where after our nominees show, I went and played a little bit of Citizen Sleeper and I'd say a little bit of Teenage Exocolonist. I finished it twice. So it's not a little bit of that game. I finished the game twice. I've also finished As Dusk Falls. I would have given this to either Citizen Sleeper or Exocolonist over it, and I haven't even played anything else on the list. As Dusk Falls, to me, I think it fits the category enough, but the game itself has so many barriers to enjoying it inside of it, and it doesn't end well. It has an end for sequel bait that does not feel like it's ever going to happen. So that takes a lot of points away in my book, and it's also just not as effective at communicating the message of getting along with people who are different than you than Exocolonist is, because Exocolonist is basically entirely about that and does a really good job at it. So I'm a little miffed at As Dusk Falls. Don't hate it, but it definitely felt like the least impactful of the games that I played on this list. All right, moving on to the new trailer for Baldur's Gate 3, and we got a release window of August 2023. I'm excited to play the full version of this. I don't know if either of you care about it at all. I know Alex does.
I know. I wish he was here for this. He would. I would
Be
want
bouncing
to
off
hear
the
his
wall.
excitement. Yeah, yeah.
It's true. It's true.
I'm sure this will be a good time though, because it's been in development for a while. People have been playing it, and it's gotten good impressions. So I am sure that it will get good impressions on release, because Larian tends to do a good job at what they do. They also showed off Minsk here, so we have confirmation of Minsk and presumably Boo being in this game, following up on Baldur's Gate 1 and 2.
I don't know what that means, but
You don't know Minsk and Boo the space hamster?
I can't say that I do.
I know so many space hamsters, man. It's really hard to keep track of all the space hamsters that I know.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I forget that not everyone can fully be aware of the glory of Boo.
God.
All right. Moving on to the reveal trailer for Wayfinders. This looked kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's coming soon. There's a beta coming very quickly, and I think the trailer had something about playing it next week. So
It reminds me of this one game. I can't quite think of it off the top of my head. I'm trying to put Ryan, help me out. What game does this remind
reminds
you
me
of?
of WildStar.
Yeah, right. Torchlight. That's the game I was thinking of. Reminds me of that.
This to me looks straight up like WildStar, which I'm happy about, because I think WildStar looked very good. It has that kind of like cartoony WoW style aesthetic, but with really bright poppy colors and kind of a I don't know about, not necessarily science fiction, but a little bit more pulpy action setting with weird machinery. So this looks cool. It's published by Digital Extremes, and it's made by Airship Syndicate, who have made a few games that I've been pretty into. They did Darksiders Genesis, which was like the top-down Darksiders game that was, I thought, super good. So it wasn't a full ARPG, but it was more like straight up a top-down Darksiders game. So I'm excited to see how this game plays, and I think if it's good, I'll definitely be into it, because Airship Syndicate has done some really good stuff before.
I will say they showed off a bit of the UI here, and it looks a little on the mobile gamey side for my taste, but that's unfortunately just becoming a trend at this point.
Yeah, it's also in beta, so I imagine if it gets pushed back, it'll probably change. But we'll see how that goes. And I would also say Torchlight tends to look a little mobile gamey as well. I think it just kind of comes with the cartoony art style.
Yeah.
When you design UI like that, it has kind of become associated with mobile games.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Fire Emblem Engage has revealed its expansion pass before the game comes out. They showed that you can get the heroes from Fire Emblem 3 houses. It's weird to me that they showed the full and the like gameplay effects of these characters before the game is out. Yeah,
it's weird.
Because that implies that they're basically done, and it's expansion content, so I'm a little bit iffy. Yeah. It's kind of interesting watching a trailer before the game comes out that's like, hey, there's this cool content coming to the game, but you can't play it. So I'm iffy on this marketing tactic. It's coming in January, so I'm sure you can get your waves of DLC throughout 2023. All right. Aurora showed up for a quick little announcement of a concert going on in a game called Sky after the show, which to my knowledge is going on repeatedly every day through like January or up until part of January. Because I think I'm actually a pretty big listener of Aurora's music, so I'm interested to check this out, because I think she has some great songs. So I'm curious what this is like. It's also that game company making Sky, who, if you don't know, made Journey and Flower. So big reputation behind them. All right. Next up, we got the Diablo IV section. Halsey showed up, gave a quick little performance. Nice and snappy music section, which they gave way for our wonderful release date trailer. And man, I just love this trailer. It's coming from a Diablo IV developer, so don't trust my opinion. Go watch it for yourself. But I'm a big fan of spears hitting demons, so There's a lot for me here.
As someone who's not even a big Diablo guy, I just really like the visual style of not quite realism that because it's the same art style that's used in like the all the other promotional stuff and like the opening cutscene or whatever for and it looks great. I was just
Blizzard's
so
cinematic
smooth.
artists are so good.
Yeah, for real.
Also, Inarius looks spicy, and I'm happy people have really liked how he looked in that trailer. All right, moving on from Diablo to also release date announcement for Diablo 6/6/23. So expect it June.
You really wanted to put the other 6 in there, but we're it's it's not much.
That is a stretch to do.
It's 6/6 and then 23, 2 times 3.
2 times 3, you can kind of connect the dots, but it's. I feel like that would be a little bit of a weird transform the 2x3 into a 6. I don't know. You could do something, but who knows? All right. Yeah. Moving on to best sports racing game, Gran Turismo 7. There was really nothing else major in this category, so no complaint.
I guess
here.
it just feels weird with a game that was just
the
highly publicized way that this game was monetized. I feel like it just makes it such a strange pick for me. But
yeah, I think the only other option really would have been Ollie Ollie World, and I think it's hard to compare a Gran Turismo game and Ollie Ollie.
Yeah.
So I don't envy the choosers of this category because this is a weird group of games.
Well, this is one of those categories where like there aren't enough picks, at least in the eyes of whoever sets these up, to like have 2 separate categories. Because in a perfect world, these would be 2 different categories.
I could totally see if this had included things releasing up until the end of the year and not just things that had released by the show. Which I totally understandable why that is, because you need to be able to play the games first. But I feel like Need for Speed Unbound would have been up here and probably have won.
It'll be there next year, probably.
Yeah, but it'll probably be there next year. So wouldn't be surprised about that. All right, moving on. Best multiplayer, Splatoon 3. Hey, no complaints. Splatoon 3 is a very good game.
Who I was watching this with, someone in my little group who was watching did play Splatoon 3, and he had commented that he felt that it was weird that it was up there that it had won because apparently the servers are really bad, at least in his experience.
I have had not a single issue with Splatoon 3 the whole time I've been playing it.
I can't say.
I played a good amount of it. I did hear there were some issues during the Splatfest, and I have not been able to play during any of the Splatfests so far, but I'm not sure if that's a big enough thing to have taken it from me. All right, moving on to best audio design, God of War Ragnarok. Let the sweep begin.
Another finger on the monkey's paw curls.
Yeah. I said this last time. Listen, say what you want about Call of Duty just in general as a franchise, but the audio design for Modern Warfare 2 is really good.
Yeah, I would have given this to either Call of Duty or Gran Turismo, because car games get their audio on point, and Modern Warfare 2 also has its audio on point.
Yeah.
Then again, I haven't finished God of War, so I'm not sure if it gets some really impressive audio stuff in there at some point.
There is this selfish part of me where like I was my game of the year like hope for this entire show was God of War, right? I would have been fine with either God of War or get there, but part of me is like, no, let God of War have this one because I feel like it didn't get quite as much. I don't know. I think.
Are you upset that God of War didn't win more awards? What?
God.
Here's the thing. I was about to say that, and then when I was really thinking,
it's already won like 3.
Fine. No, I know.
God.
I know. I think personally, I would have given it to Modern Warfare or the car game because again, car game audio always good, and ever since Modern Warfare 2019, Call of Duty's audio has been like really, really good. So
you already snubbed them from the one category that a COD usually has with Splatoon winning instead. You got to give them at least some, or maybe you don't. Maybe it really isn't that great of a game.
Maybe it's not God tier.
I don't know. Maybe it's not God tier. Well, I'll just say I haven't even Jeff Keighley doesn't like it. Confirmed as fact. I haven't even played Splatoon 3, and I also agree that it should have won the award over COD from the previous category. But I don't know. It's weird to.
It's a very uneven game. It's a very
It is.
uneven game, but with audio, I feel like
Yeah,
if it had won, I feel like that would have been
at least give it that. Yeah.
It's funny. I did bring that up in the group that I was watching with, and they're like, "No, COD is trash. Get out of here." It's like, well, you know, have you actually played it?
Have you played any of them?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
All right. Best content creator Ludwig. Woo. Moving on.
Hey, like I said in our when we covered the nominees, that man is insane and did this crazy subathon. So you know what? Take it.
Yeah, no problem with it. I have no frame of reference for any of his co-competitors in this category. So I can't compare and contrast the pros and cons of Ludwig winning. All right, moving to most anticipated game, Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. I mean, was there ever any doubt? I think would be the question here.
No, not really.
Yeah, I mean, Tears of the Kingdom, from everything we've seen, looks impressive. It's a follow-up to Breath of the Wild. It's a Zelda game. That's a powerful combination of factors. So, looking forward to that when that comes out. But, oh boy, who's to give an awards before games release? All right.
Never a bad sign.
Horizon Forbidden West, Burning Shores, which is the Hollywood expansion for Horizon Forbidden West.
Yeah.
Is more of it.
Probably not going to play it, but okay.
More of game that people like, so good for them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. After that, we had a little bit from the two Joels and Ellies coming up. Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson, and then whoever Pedro and I don't know the woman's name, unfortunately, Mel Ramsey. She did a good job up here. She kept her cool very well. I think that's a hard thing to follow up after Al Pacino losing his mind. So, yeah, I mean, it's a bit. They did a little bit about trying to pronounce the awards at the same time. How cute. And simultaneously, I imagine showing anyone that bit of the Game Awards and asking and telling them it's a serious award show.
This is at this point I was just in Mike's the closeting and I was just feeling watching as my chin and neck fuse to become more and more of a glader underneath my beard. Oh, they're all saying the words at the same time. Okay. Oh, they didn't. Can we get on to the next one now?
This is something I haven't heard about this until just now.
You'll get nothing from
it's fine. It wasn't. It's one of the most like milquetoast bits I can imagine because it wasn't insulting. It didn't feel like it was painful to watch, but at the same time, I have no idea what the point was. So, hey, sometimes bits are just like that.
It's quirky.
Best action game, Bayonetta 3. I'm salty about this.
I would imagine you would be. Yeah. I remember watching that and being like, "Oh, I know someone who's gonna be mad."
Yeah.
This is. I'm salty about this one. Doug Bowser gets to come up here and accept his rewards, but you know what? I really think there should have been some other picks here. It's unfortunate.
Oh well.
Get your stuff in gear, Keely.
I'm kind of surprised Sifu didn't take best action game.
That would have been my pick, I think, is Sifu. Yeah. So, the only reason I'm really properly against Bayonetta in the circumstance is just because Bayonetta 3 is the worst of the Bayonetta games, which is still a good game. Like, it's still a very good game. Mm-hmm. But it is the worst of the Bayonettas. And so it winning, I think, just means we had a poor showing this year, except we didn't because Sifu also came out, as well as a number of really good action indie games. And, like, maybe Ghostwire could have fit up here. Was that this year or was that last year?
Ghostwire was this year, I think.
That was this year.
I would have fit maybe Ghostwire up here as well.
I would say that's more action-adventure than just straight-up action game, though.
Wyatt, when we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge and Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 in the same category, boundaries don't matter anymore. Swap Call of Duty out with Ghostwire Tokyo and you have a better category.
Oh,
Um,
damn.
okay, it doesn't make sense anyway. At least Ghostwire has action game mechanics in it. Bayonetta 3, worst of the Bayonetta game, still very good, but not something I really think should have won. Particularly because this is the worst camera I've used in an action game in a very long time. It's worse than Ninja Gaiden, I think. So
that is a high bar to clear.
dude, it's because you're constantly fighting like building-sized monsters, and you can't even see them. Like you can't see them because it gets stuck underneath other monsters, and like you don't have a wide enough field of view to see anything. It's horrifically annoying and is actually a huge problem for an action game. It's still perfectly playable, but it is just severely annoying the whole time, and it means you can't really get into the flow state that the other Bayonettas let you get into. So, all right, moving on. We got Blue Protocol reveal. Anyone have thoughts on Blue Protocol?
Nope.
It's published by Amazon Games, and it's a free-to-play online RPG. So I'm exhausted already. Just from thinking about it. I do think, hey, visually it looks cool. But Amazon
nice.
Games and free-to-play are not a combination of words that has gone well in the past with the number of cancellations that have happened.
I think just the word Amazon sends shivers down people's backs. So, you know.
Hey, but Wyatt, at least you and I get something next. We get Remnant 2.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
We get Remnant 2 dropping with just full, like, realistic machine guns in the trailer. I love it so much. I'm super excited about Remnant 2. I think this is going to be goofy fun, and that's exactly what I want. It is it is developed by Gunfire Games, so the actual developers of Remnant as well, which is always exciting to see. And the art style looks wild. They're going for some crazy medieval mixed with modern military.
I feel like they're really swinging for the fences a lot more visually than they were with the first game. It always felt, at least with what you and I played, Ryan, it felt a bit like restrained, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but just by comparison, this is just
they didn't fully know where to go with it, but this time they're committing to what they're doing.
This is going for it.
All right, now next we get a trailer. It looks like we got military. We got some like people in space. They've got suits on. They're gonna fight. It looks like some guns. And then there's like a bit where you're in the first person view. And then you look down and you see a robot hand and you go, wait a minute, this is a Transformers game. Transformers Reactivate.
This is the one that is killing me the most for not having gameplay. Because what the hell kind of game is this? We don't know!
They have stated that as an online co-op action game.
I'm done. It's ruined.
Who knows?
It's ruined.
If only there was someone in this podcast that liked those kind of games. Gosh, can't imagine.
To point out, the last thing that Splash Damaged released was Gears of War Tactics, which is a good game, but that's a big genre leap.
Yeah.
Well, but here's the thing. First-person shooters are kind of their bread and butter, though. They were the developers of the Return to Castle Wolfenstein multiplayer.
They were also the developers of Brink.
Of Brink? Okay. We're not done yet, though, Ryan. We haven't gotten to the weirdest thing that they've made yet, though. They're also the developers of Dirty Bomb, which was a free-to-play FPS. It gets weirder. You know what else they made? Batman Arkham Origins multiplayer.
I don't have any energy left for this game anymore.
I'm so curious what this is gonna be like.
Which, to be clear,
also I'll point out they have. I'm looking at their website right now. They have an image up of Transformers Reactivate, and it is like New York. The Statue of Liberty is fallen on the ground, and there are big red cabley like War of the Worlds looking things going everywhere. I don't know what is going on.
Listen, this is the studio that took a Batman Arkham multiplayer concept and turned it into a class-based shooter. Okay, we don't know what to expect from these people.
I'm
This could be pure
scared.
insanity. You know what? I kind of hope it is.
Just something to stimulate my brain instead of the current
Aw,
flat line that it
man.
is when thinking about it.
Right.
God.
Moving on to our next reveal is Behemoth, which is a VR game that looks like kind of like Shadow of the Colossus, maybe a little bit. Probably not any of the emotional stuff, but the fighting big monster stuff. So
I mean, listen, you get a Shadow of the Colossus style game in VR. I think that's a selling point for a lot of people.
but it's
Yeah,
releasing
something.
on the Meta Quest. And if you don't know what the Meta Quest is, it's the Oculus Quest, but with a worse name. So, all right. More Fall Guys shows up, then Keegan-Michael Key shows up and tells you that it is not, in fact, Toad's head, but a cap, which is actually a hat, which is also a cap. And then pauses for a moment to a lot of silence, and then continues to talk about the Mario movie, which I'll remind you, the first clip of the Mario movie is being played, despite the fact that the trailer of the movie already showed and we saw a couple of clips of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I guess Jeff Keighley meant it's the first extended clip. Who knows? Man, I don't know what to think of this. I feel like this is gonna be like watching a train wreck in slow motion and that I can't stop, but I feel really bad the whole time. Maybe it'll be really good. Who knows?
I forgot that this happened. I think I was so my senses were so artificially dulled by means that are not normally within the human body by this point in the show that I forgot this part happened. But I do remember everyone was silent in the watch group.
Just I don't know what to expect from this.
It's just, oh, I can't believe what if Mario went into the pipe and then he got really fast and he you can't go through a pipe like that in real life, and then he fell out. Oh my god, it's like you could write the movie if you were 7 years old or something. Whoa.
See, anytime
I'm sure
in-
kids
I-
will like this movie.
Yes.
I think that
yes.
is certain. This feels very Despicable Me.
Yeah. Anytime I have a conversation with someone about this movie, they're always like, "Oh, it looks like a Mario movie," and everyone minus Chris Pratt sounds like their respective Mario characters.
Chris
and I'm
Pratt
like,
sounded is it just me or did he sound like a New Yorker in this?
He did.
No,
he put on a little bit of an accent, and it was not enough.
Yeah.
But it sounded like he was trying to put on a New York, New Jersey accent and not a Italian accent.
Yeah.
Yeah. My thing is always at the end of the day, it's Illumination, and I don't trust them to make a good movie. I just don't. They don't have the track record. They've made in my opinion, they've made one movie that I thought was fine, which was the first Despicable Me, which is fine. The most 6 out of 10, 5 out of 10 I've ever seen in my life.
The perfectly watchable animation, but doesn't make your day.
No. And I feel like there are so many other animation studios that would make a better Mario movie. But they don't they didn't make the Minions, so I guess they don't count as actual animation studios. Do they?
Yeah. The music was good though. I liked the music. They actually did a good job.
And listen,
I think the visuals
everything
did look pretty good, but
visuals looked great. And again, I think everyone barring Chris Pratt from a voice acting standpoint, I think everyone does a good job. It's Illumination, and I don't trust them. So
all right, after that we got Animal from the Muppets.
What?
Again, he's coming back this year. It's
For your annual forced Muppet
Jeff
shoe-in.
Keighley wanted you to be sure that you would know that Animal was gonna be here. That he was rehearsing backstage before the show. He was ready to be here. And to be honest, Brett, the Animal bit got a lot of laughs.
It was actually pretty funny. This
I was
time,
pretty
because
happy with the animal bit.
they made it actually relevant to video games instead of just having a Muppet character be there.
And hearing a
you know?
Muppet yell about Elden Ring is just deeply amusing to me on a level of
It's just really funny.
a level of entertainment that I didn't know I was gonna get out of this show.
I remember the Beaker bit from last year kind of getting a laugh out of me.
Yeah, I was
at
super
all.
iffy on the Beaker bit, but it was okay. I think this was a better Muppets bit because it was related to video games. It felt like this was actually a video game show moment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you get in a weird Muppets crossover, and Muppet is apparently a huge Soulsborne fan. So he also calls out
that
Kojima.
sentence is kind of
and
funny.
A Muppet yelling Kojima repeatedly while the camera pans over to Hideo Kojima sitting in the audience is really funny to me.
Yeah.
I thought this was cute. After that, Animal talks about best music, which goes to God of War Ragnarok.
It continues.
Yeah, I again, like, it's the same 2-3 games getting all the awards, but I'm also not gonna sit here and tell you that it wasn't deserved, because that soundtrack is really good.
You know what? I am going to tell you it wasn't deserved. I love the soundtrack of God of War Ragnarok from what I hear, but there was a winner for this category. This was a category that was completely unambiguous to me, and that was Metal Hellsinger.
Yes.
And if not Metal Hellsinger, it was Xenoblade Chronicles 3, because that game has incredible music. Largely, that one is more to my taste than God of War. Not actually that it's necessarily better than God of War, but Metal Hellsinger is a crowning achievement of musical design for video games, because it's all composed for the game. It all plays into the gameplay loop. It is the kind of thing where, like, that happens once every 10 years, maybe.
Yeah.
So seeing it get snubbed for this category was tough.
By the way, the only category that it was nominated for
again
really shouldn't have been. But I think this just screams to me that a lot of people didn't play this game, or had the games journalist played it and could not get a hang of the mechanics, and so stopped trying after 10 minutes.
If you're going to pick a game, if you're going to pick the game that isn't based on its music and its game design isn't based on its music,
there better be bad music in the game that got right. But all the music in Metal Hellsinger is phenomenal. So,
and it all works like to forward the gameplay. You just the combo system giving you more parts of the song is
classic.
You get more layers the better you do, which was such a great idea.
Yep. Wild. Actually angry about this one. Even though I'm sure God of War Ragnarok's composing team absolutely deserves it, Metal Hellsingers deserved it more.
Well, what I was gonna say, if you're gonna pick a game in this category where the game design wasn't based on the music, God of War Ragnarok is a good pick. It's just not the one game in this category that relies on the music.
Yeah.
So,
and made music befitting that reliance.
Right.
All right. After that, we got a reveal of Banishers, which is an action RPG from Don't Nod, who made Life is Strange and Vampire. I'm pretty into what we saw of this. I think this looks cool.
This was one that I did not watch.
This looks like Ghost the Witcher, except probably not open world and more story based, and I'm totally okay with that.
It looks good.
There's a neat ghost companion you have. The trailer's super moody and thematic. I'm a big fan of it going into what looks like gameplay after a CGI bit, so you get attached to the characters and then you see how it's going to play.
It's a good looking game, definitely.
And I think Vampire was a little bit of proof that Don't Nod can probably do some modicum of action game. I don't know if they could do it without the narrative support there, but I think Vampire was totally passable. And so seeing what they can do, having learned from that, I'm excited to see. End of 2023 was our time frame for that. After that, Wyatt, we're eating good today. 40K Space Marine 2.
Let's go!
And it looks so good.
It looks sublime.
Awesome.
That was incredible. It looked like Space Marine Dynasty Warriors, and I am hyped by that.
Listen, I'm gonna say this. I don't really know that much about Warhammer or Warhammer 40K, but I did play the first Space Marine, and it was awesome.
Look, and an Ultramarine killing Tyranids, you can't get better than that. All right.
I'm not sure if that was English, but yeah.
All right. Yeah, I think this trailer was solid. We saw actual gameplay, which looks really good, and hopefully it runs well because it was super visually impressive, and it would be great if it keeps that. But I wouldn't be surprised if it looks worse when it comes out. All right. Next, we saw Meet Your Maker. We've seen this before. I don't know if it was at any major shows, but it definitely had trailers before. You have an asymmetric multiplayer game where one player is building a fort thing that you then run through in a first-person shooter bit. Possibly co-op, it seems.
I don't think I've seen this before. This looks interesting.
Yeah, cool. I don't know that it was in a show last time, but I've definitely seen a trailer for this before circulating. Comes out April 4th. Looks pretty impressive. Has a really cool visual style. As long as it's balanced well, I think this will be a fun time.
I love the character designs here. This looks so cool.
Yep.
This guy's got this giant tank on his head with like tubes coming out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Looks neat.
All right. After that, we saw Blood Bowl 3, which had I don't know, but if you guys agree that this was a really weird trailer. I'm appreciative that it showed gameplay, but to me, this trailer looked weird. I don't fully know why.
I don't remember. I might have been in the bathroom for this part, Ryan. I don't think I remember this trailer.
It had a bit. It had a bit in the locker room, which was kind of funny, but also kind of long. Not sure. This is for those who don't know. Blood Bowl is Warhammer Fantasy Football. It is American football, not soccer, or worldwide football. It is American football, but you kill each other, and it's orcs and other races going at it from what you would expect from a fantasy world. Had a couple of games in the past. The people that like these games really like them, and most other people have never played them or heard of them. Yeah. So I guess this was an attempt to resolve the never hearing of it thing. And if you like American football, but with fantasy species and whatnot, and crazy death, hey, Blood Bowl could be your thing.
It looks turn-based, too. I'm looking at the trailer right now.
Yeah, it's turn-based.
Interesting.
Appropriately wild. We got a surprise Crash Team Rumble reveal, which looks like a MOBA-ish team fight game. I really have no clue what to expect from this.
The only thing I'll say is that it seems like Crash as a franchise under Toys for Bob's stewardship has been going well. I know they've done a couple of good remasters of the originals. From what I understand, Crash 4 was really, really good.
Yeah, I definitely have faith in Toys for Bob. I don't know if I can buy Crash translating to this type of game yet, but maybe they'll...
Someone described this one to me, and they described it as Crash Smash Brothers, which is not correct at all. No. But I almost wonder if that would have been a better sort of path in this case, because it was really unclear what was going on, to be honest. I was it was like teams, and maybe there's objectives, you have to throw a ball somewhere, but I was a little
bit strange to look at.
At the top of his lungs, just let him die over and over again.
I love that that's the thing I get the audio back for, is at the top of his lungs, just let him die. Cut out for just a second, it's fine.
Did the stream
just for 2 seconds? No, the stream is fine.
Oh, okay.
It was just its Discord is acting strangely tonight, but we're good. Stream is totally fine.
We pushed through.
Yep, that's our Blood Bowl and Crash Team thoughts. I think, unless someone else has things they want to add about these two games before we move on to best accessibility, which is God of War Ragnarok.
Not too big of a surprise. Sony, Sony games in recent years have had incredible accessibility menus, and
Until someone else steps up to that level, I don't think we're gonna see
Yeah.
anything but Sony games winning this.
Yeah, yeah, and it's not like, oh well, it's the only real choice. No,
Yeah,
it's well deserved.
I also think this is a category that like, you can kind of remove the sweep factor from this. I think this is largely just because God of War Ragnarok actually has really good accessibility options.
Agreed.
Agreed.
All right. And there's no like really obvious other pick either that was like simulating what it's like to be a person that has like
which is not to downplay what God of War Ragnarok does offer, because what it does offer is very, very good.
All right, moving on. We saw The Lords of the Fallen. Looks like a Souls-like. That's about it.
Isn't this already a thing? What was
There's a game called Lords of the Fallen, which was the first Souls-like that wasn't a Souls game that was pretty mediocre, made by the Surge developers. Right. This is a different developer's take on Lords of the Fallen called The Lords of the Fallen.
Yes.
So wait. Same universe, same like.
Yes, this is a sequel to Lords of the Fallen called The Lords of the Fallen, except it looks completely different and has no continuity from what we can tell.
So what we have here is a Suicide Squad to the Suicide Squad situation.
Yes, except they're cashing in on an IP that has what I would guess is no value.
Yeah, we talked about this last time because this is the second trailer we've got for this, and like it was Jeff again, where Jeff was like super excited to bring you a fan favorite franchise that people have been waiting for a second installment for years.
Lords of the Fallen 2. Like,
who's a fan of Lords of the Fallen? Like, what, are you insane?
Especially by a different studio.
Yeah, very strange,
bizarre, super bizarre game to exist. I mean, it looks kind of cool, so maybe it'll be good, but I don't understand what value attaching the Lords of the Fallen IP to this has done for it.
Yeah.
All right. Moving through quickly so we can keep speeding up. We saw Crime Boss Rockay City, which I don't know about you. I was super confused during the whole presentation for this because this game it had the gravitas it felt of a game that we've heard about before, but I don't think we have.
No.
And it was just very confusing because there were a bunch of actors on screen that were doing really hammy mafia impressions.
Yeah.
The whole time.
This is one of those things where it's like it's not good when your video game trailer mostly focuses on its cast.
Yeah, and I still don't know what this game actually looks like. That's a big deal to me. I don't know about you guys.
Kind of game is this? What
Discord
are we
having
playing?
A real tough night, but we're fine.
Discord's having a time. This was one of those things where they released this like fancy cinematic for it, and I think they released gameplay a couple days later after the show.
Yeah, I
it's
checked
some
out the
sort
gameplay.
of it's some sort of first person shooter or something.
Yeah, it's like a Payday-ish first person shooter. I don't know if we know if it's mission structure or open world. Because you'd expect with a name like Rockay City, it'd be an open world game, but who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah,
to be honest, when this was first presented by some of the devs, I was like, "Is this another Saints Row thing? What's going on?"
Yeah, I get that. This is definitely a confusing thing to me. I'm not sure what this game's going to be like, and it feels like it's relying a lot on star power, and I have to wonder how much of the budget went to getting Chuck Norris to show up in this game.
Yeah, or how long he's going to be there even.
Well, also, it was like, oh yeah, we got Chuck Norris in this game. What are you gonna do about it? It's like, first of all, Chuck Norris is a meme that is so old it predates like meme culture in and of itself. And also, who cares about Chuck Norris in general anymore? What?
I just question whether or not Chuck Norris and Danny Trejo are in the cultural zeitgeist anymore.
Dude,
the point where they're valuable additions to it. Maybe like the point is that it's a bunch of actors that used to be famous.
Do people who are younger than us even know who this guy is or care?
That's a good question.
Because we know him from the Chuck Norris, memes back in the day of like, oh, Chuck Norris, or like, oh, Chuck Norris is so strong that such and such, right? And then people who are older than us know him from canon action movies and stuff like that. But like outside of that, anyone that's younger than us, what is Chuck Norris like? Do they even know who this guy is?
He's not in Fortnite, so he might as
I
well not
mean,
exist.
yeah, if you're not in Fortnite, you're not it anymore. So
It's true.
Hey, listen.
Get out of here.
It's only a matter of time before Chuck Norris shows up in Fortnite.
I shouldn't have opened my goddamn mouth.
No, it's gonna happen, Brett. You've committed this to.
Once I see it, I'm just gonna spam text you that link to that reveal trailer. I'm gonna be like, "This is your fault."
I can see it now. God.
All right. Moving on to our next category of actual award, best role-playing game goes to Elden Ring. More sweepage, but you know what? I'm not really that salty about this one because I don't. The only other game I would have really given this to is Xenoblade, I think. But
I mean, weren't we kind of talking about? I'm trying to remember our conversation about this, but like it was kind of an interesting choice to put it here because it's technically an RPG, but not really. But not really.
Normally, this category fits a lot of like turn-based games and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't fit with those, but it certainly is a RPG. I mean, Soulsborne games are absolutely RPGs.
Oh, I'm not saying it isn't an RPG, to be clear, but
it is a category that tends to be a weird mishmash of things. I don't think it's as much of a problem for best RPG because it's a really broad terminology here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm okay with Elden Ring winning. I would have rather we spread the love again and give it to something like Xenoblade. But hey, if Elden Ring's gonna win it, I can't argue with that. Like, it's not there's no universe in which I say Elden Ring is a bad RPG. So, all right, moving on to Player's Voice. There was apparently a whole war unveiling on the internet between Sonic Frontier and Genshin Impact, where Sonic players started botting a ton, and then the full force of Genshin's mobile game fan base, which is much larger than basically any other game because it's widely available, absolutely destroyed Sonic.
Yeah.
An insane point. And Jeff Keighley even addressed it by talking about removing bots. So, hey.
Made fun of them.
Genshin Impact, hard-fought, well-earned Player's Voice Award. All right. Moving on to Best Independent Game. Stray took this home. This is, I think, we talked a lot about why this is a little bit disappointing as a choice, just because it means you don't get to give Cult of the Lamb, Tunic, Neon White, Sifu, like all these other fantastic indie games that I think absolutely stand up next to Stray. Some do. And I think the disappointing thing here is that it largely feels like Stray won this because of visual style, even if it didn't. Because Stray looks pretty AAA in quality compared to these other games, which a lot of that is art style. But
I also feel like it's probably the most talked about indie game out of all of these here. Like it was the one that had the most attention.
How much of that is the power of Cat?
All of it.
That's
all of it.
Which is, I mean, that's what the game does really well, better than any other game ever. But it's not the best Cat game tier, is it?
All right.
It's not.
Well, that's the best indie game category. So let's move on to best action adventure game. This goes to God of War Ragnarok. All right.
It continues.
Yeah.
The sweep continues. Again, I think we have the same problems as every other sweepy category here. This could have gone to another game that deserved an award. But
So, and I believe I'm somewhat quoting word for word what Ryan said here when we got to this category. When we're talking about nominees. Let's just toss Horizon and Stray out of here for a second. Let's just get rid of those. And because I don't know why Stray is an action adventure game. It doesn't. I don't understand.
It's like solely adventure.
So let's toss those two out. Like, out of the three, yes, I guess. But again, let's share the love a little bit. Why can't we give Plague Tale Requiem a nominee, right? Or an award? From everything I've heard,
or one of the multitudes of really good indie action adventure games that came out, like Tunic.
Yep.
It just feels very strange. We're sticking to these. But let's move on, because we've gone that conversation through at this point.
Yeah.
Best ongoing game, Final Fantasy XIV. I mean, yeah, no complaints here. Again, same as the Community Support Award, but these are relatively different awards, so I'm not a huge problem with that. But hey, Final Fantasy getting awards always nice. Moving on, Best Game Direction, Elden Ring, and I feel like there's very little to argue about with this one. game direction, I think, is the award that needs to go to something that does meaningfully change an approach in design, and I think Elden Ring has achieved that.
Yeah.
Regardless of your thoughts on it, it's caused kind of a cultural shift in how people are thinking about open world games.
Yes.
We'll see if anything comes of that, because last time when Breath of the Wild was happening, we didn't necessarily get a lot of actual changes based on it until more recently.
Mm-hmm.
So who knows?
Although it did heavily influence probably the best Ubisoft open world game we've gotten in a very long time.
Yeah, for sure.
For what it's worth.
But it took a while. Like, it took a long time for that to happen. And I also think this is one of those categories where the other nominees are weird. Where we got God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, Immortality, and Stray. I really feel like the only two that have meaningful game direction changes are probably Ragnarok and Elden Ring in this, which is bizarre.
But even comparing the two is weird, because I would say in terms of like of a more traditional like filmmaking direction, sure, God of War Ragnarok fits, but that's not really what this category is.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know. I think Elden Ring definitely is the clear the pick here for sure. That makes sense to me.
All right. Moving on, we see Cyberpunk 2077, Phantom Liberty getting some actual showcases of what this DLC is going to look like. Idris Elba makes an appearance. Looks neat. Didn't really see a lot of meaningful gameplay here, so I think there's not a ton to really pick at, but I think the setting looks cool. There were some neat looking enemies. Gonna be a fun time, hopefully. Hopefully it's not very broken.
We'll see.
Hopefully, one can only hope.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, let's hope CD Projekt has learned their lesson, because Cyberpunk now is pretty solid. So
yeah,
hopefully this stays the course and proves it's worth sticking around for.
They're starting to get a lot of that good reputation back, and it would really just be the worst to lose it all again.
Yeah. All right. After that, oh boy, it's the big one, Brett. Just imagine Brett and I sitting states apart from each other and just seeing the red dot on the screen and just getting in the zone, just getting ready.
That's a mono eye, isn't it?
That's either a Zaku or something like a Zaku, and you know what's like a Zaku in Armored Core. And so we have finally gotten the reveal of Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon. Oh, this trailer was moody, it was thematic, and Brett, it had a pile bunker. Oh, it's everything.
If you asked me, it had everything.
It had great music.
Just bass boosted chain gun firing at 1,000,000 miles an hour. It just, oh my god.
Crazy like tricycle mech thing going through.
Exactly.
Great, some bipedal stuff. We got some flying bits, tons of missiles, big weird AI planes that look straight out of Metal Gear. Oh,
yep.
So what
I
kind
cannot
of
wait.
What genre is Armored Core even in? Because
Hey,
I really don't know.
We're
much
gonna
about
find
this.
out with this game.
Let me explain the gameplay loop of an Armored Core game to you, Wyatt, okay?
Okay.
So, you start the game and you're explained by an NPC that you're utterly worthless and you're a mercenary that means nothing in this gigantic war between these businesses, because it's as cyberpunk as it gets in that regard. Then they send you on a mission and you get absolutely obliterated, and then you get charged like $10,000 because you have to pay for all your repairs. So you got to go back to the shop and you got to buy a bunch of parts, and you got to really think about how each your arms, your legs, your head, your core, your generator, all the different boosters and your guns, how does that affect your build? And then you spend an hour in the shop doing that, and then you try the same mission again, and then you die, and then you get charged $10,000, and then you go back to the shop and do it again
until you come back and obliterate your opponent in less than a second.
It's like it's stupid. It's the old Armored Core games are the only ones that I've had a chance to play, and they're really, really brutal because they have like really obscure controls for a game that looks like it should not control like that. I'm forcing myself to try again and not stop until I understand it this time, and I think I'm there. But this, FromSoft is at the point where I think the one thing that doesn't need to have gameplay is a FromSoft trailer, because I just don't think anyone has any doubt in the world that it might be a completely different game than a Souls, but it's gonna be good. It's FromSoft, dude.
Yeah.
I don't know what, like, they literally have not missed. I'm so excited. I'm
ready for a departure from FromSoft.
Yes.
To see
I'm
what
ready
this
for a
looks like.
departure, and I'm ready to laugh at people that just all the months leading up to the release date to just like expect it to be like playable like it's a Souls game. Same thing with Sekiro, and then they try playing it and they just get obliterated and confused because they don't know that FromSoft is capable of making other games too. It's
Just
crazy.
wait until they reveal this is actually taking Lost Kingdoms mechanics and is a card game.
Oh my god!
I
And
can't
then we'll
wait.
get a reveal like when Valve revealed an artifact, and people are just like, "Oh."
All
I'm
right.
going to throw
After
it into
that,
the fires of Rubicon if that
we
happens.
get a big Final Fantasy 16 trailer. Yoshi P gets to come on stage, Naoki Yoshida, and talk about how it's about revenge and show some almost looks like hard M footage from the trailer. I do wonder if this is going to be an M-rated Final Fantasy, which would be wild. I'm down for it though. Looks great. Oh, I'm so excited for this game. I think the footage they keep showing here, they're doing a good job of showing stuff that in the no context trailer verse, I have no idea what is happening, but all of it looks very cool. So, I'm very down for whatever this actually is. I swear for a moment it looked like it was in the zoomed out gameplay of fighting the Titanic primals together, and it looked great. Super curious as to how this game is actually gonna feel when you play it. Comes out June 22nd. So, also first half ish, a little over first half 2023. All right.
And then December 31st everywhere else, because it comes out on PS5 first.
Oh yeah, forgot about
And
that.
I think December 31st was the date they gave.
Yep, just about 6 months after, I think.
Yeah.
All right, Game of the Year. We get the beautiful visage of Joseph Fares arriving. Oh, what a glorious man!
What a
talking
hero.
about the hair on his body. He means to say goosebumps.
His body was ready. Let me tell you.
Like, his hair all over the place. Loved this. So he comes up, announces Game of the Year, and it goes to Elden Ring. I think a lot of people expected this. A lot of people expected God of War. So pretty split vote at the end, I think, and especially in the sweep that God of War was starting to have. I was a little nervous about Elden Ring.
Especially with
actually
Elden
winning.
Ring winning design too, because usually you
game
don't
direction.
see both or direction. Yeah,
Well, we had talked about this, and we had wanted, one or the other, but not both.
Yeah.
And I think what at least Ryan and I had settled on was like, I think Elden Ring takes best game direction handily, and I think Game of the Year should have gone to God of War for some personal reasons. I am not at all upset that Elden Ring won. I not at all, but I guess that's more of a personal choice. And
Yeah.
just the fact of having it win both direction and Game of the Year.
Yeah, I think the harder thing on that now is I do think, having played a good bit of God of War, I think game direction is really indicative of having someone with a pretty heavy hand in terms of the game's control, and I don't know that God of War had that person. It felt like Miyazaki here had a lot to do with how Elden Ring played out. I could be wrong about that. It's certainly possible. So I think Elden Ring definitely deserved game direction. Game of the Year is a harder one because I haven't finished God of War, so I don't know how my final feelings on that will come out. I mean, it's a great game so far, but who knows? Elden Ring, I played to completion over like 150 hours, and then immediately started a second playthrough, which I played not to completion, but to a good point, and then started a third playthrough with a different build, and then decided I was going to try and beat the big boss that everyone was scared of at soul level 1. And I attempted that for a long time before giving up and realizing that the numbers were just not in my favor. But it was a great time regardless. So any game that I could sit there and fight the same boss for nearly a full day and not be upset is doing a good job. So I'm happy with this result. I do think, I wish things aside from Game Direction and Game of the Year had been spread out a lot more, and that we had more varied nominees from a lot of categories. I feel like this year really demonstrated that more than other years, where it just felt like a lot of games that should have been nominated for things were missing, and that there were a lot of games that could have been pulled from that were not. So that's unfortunate, but at the same time, you can't play every game. So I wonder if there's going to be some thought to revising the way that these games are nominated and reviewed. Because I think what I talked about with some other people was the idea of maybe they could have like a, per category, have a group of people that play every game in the category and then review them internally. Because I feel like that's realistic to do if you have different people for every category, right? Get the people that like those types of games and then pit them up to play all those games, and then among them choose something, so that way everyone has played every game a good amount and can actually have a really good input on it. Whereas that way I think we won't get the case of like a bunch of nominees that no one knows, and so therefore something wins because it's the most known game, which I have a feeling is what happened with As Dusk Falls. Because that was the only game on that list that got shown off at big industry shows. All the others were more subdued releases. So, yeah, I feel like that's the big issue with this process, and hopefully there's some way to fix that going forward. Then again, this is a campy award show, and who really cares what gets what award? And the end is just a fun
watching
night.
It, of course.
Yeah, most people are there for the reveals and whatnot and trailers.
But the show is not over. We have one more thing to talk about.
The show is not over.
God, it's not over.
I'm going to preface what we're about to say. I don't know if this is some weird 4chan anti-Semite call-out. There is no malice or intent behind me repeating the words that have been said. I'm just trying to inform people. Nobody on the show is an anti-Semite, and nobody on the show knows much about what happened. But a kid after... to note, this kid had walked up with the Elden Ring group of nominees, acceptees, and had just like snuck in behind them and stayed there and looked like he belonged. Masterclass on how to get into an event you shouldn't be at, because he just looked like he belonged, so everyone kind of accepted it. And I remember noting at the time, I was like, who's this like English kid walking behind?
My group was
he was like someone's son or something.
My group was like, who is this? What's going on?
Same, yeah.
I figured he was someone's like kid or something, right? You're like, oh, he's up there to just because he wanted to be up there, and his parent was like, all right, I'll take you up. Clearly, that is not the case, and it's just a kid who snuck up.
This is the Will Smith slap of the Game Awards, I think. This was
the equivalent
of like
bizarre.
unplanned, completely out of nowhere. What the hell just happened?
I love Hard Drive has an article on this, and their headline for the article is "Gamer Wins Reveal You're a Racist Any Percent Speedrun" at the Game Awards. And I love that wording. He basically said something about nominating the award to Reformed Rabbi Bill Clinton, which is, I don't understand what that sentence is supposed to be. This was the weirdest thing I think I've ever heard someone say on TV. Everyone was confused. Apparently, there's two sectors of the internet. One who thinks he's an InfoWars kid, but then Jason Schreier interviewed him and claims that he's Jewish because he understood a question that Jason Schreier asked in Hebrew, and then, in Jason Schreier's words, tried to hide that he understood it. Mm-hmm. So, who knows?
Jason Schreier, as always, doing the Lord's work.
Yeah.
I think the only thing everyone knows at this point for sure is that some top-class memes have come out of this.
Oh my god, dude! Within seconds of it happening, I was already playing Elden Ring. I was doing another playthrough. I stopped that to go back to the beginning and make Bill Clinton in the character creator as close as I could, and I'm still playing as him right now.
Man, this is just one of those cases. I can't imagine what this kid hoped to accomplish. Like, what was the goal here? Was it just to get on stage and say, like, what is the point here? I mean, he got escorted off stage and apparently escorted to a police station.
He was arrested, yeah.
Well, after the fact, I think the LAPD confirmed they didn't actually arrest him. He was just taken to the police station.
Why did Jeff say that then?
I think because he was
Okay.
taken to the police station and confusing what arrested and actually is. But either way, I think there's going to be increased security. Thanks to
I hope
Ben,
so.
for sure, and
I'm
a
surprised
working
this happened.
knowledge of
Yeah.
who should be on
Wow.
stage with each group of people beforehand. Because
God.
I don't get this. This was bizarre. To the point where I was certain we had heard something wrong. We were watching this. We're like, he had said something important, but then he was getting escorted off stage. We're like, did he actually say that?
Yeah.
Who knows? Absolutely bizarre. Crazy end to the night. Completely overshadowing Elden Ring winning Game of the Year. The awards.
Yeah.
We have a child. So that's Jeff Keighley's wild ride for this year. Truly earning its title this time.
Oh my God. Most wild ride of all, truly.
I am stunned that this happened. And you know what? At least the memes are good. So
That's true.
I'm sure Alex would have a comment on their quality if he was here.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the end of the show. We did it. We talked about all the games. Which means, well, time for impressions of the Game Awards. What was your... If you'd rank this among Game Awards, where does it fall? Is it good, bad,
This,
in the middle
for
somewhere?
me, this for me was a gigantic misery sandwich where the top bun was much bigger than the bottom bun because there was some interesting things toward the beginning, and then you put the top bun on with Elden Ring winning Game of the Year and Armored Core 6 is there. We got Final Fantasy 16 trailer, and it's just like, well, I mean, you drag me along to the end with all of these things. But what did I lose in the process of getting there? It was like 3.5 hours of, there were games. I will say there were games this time. This is not a case where there were no games and it was just full of ads and there was 17 different musical performances that added nothing. This was a very game focused time, but just something about the pacing was off here. I don't know. It felt like it went on forever. And there's, I don't know.
Yeah,
It wasn't the
felt like it
worst.
simultaneously managed to have too many skits and not enough. And I think it's that
Yeah.
most of the skits were largely very unfunny. And there were like 2 pretty good ones. So actually, I think 1 pretty good one. The animal one was kind of funny. The rest were all right. And then the washed up actors on stage trying to do mafia impressions really just lost me for a bit there, especially because it was a lengthy section.
Yeah.
I think this falls. It still kind of falls pretty high for me because I feel like there wasn't a lot of lengthy nothingness here.
Mm-hmm.
That's been a problem in past Game Awards, and there were a lot of good announcements. There was a lot of games that I cared about here, like Remnant 2. The weird Transformers game is a strange highlight just because I want to see what that is. Armored Core is huge, especially seeing they have a pile bunker in the trailer, because that is my most loved video game weapon type, and very few games have it. It's basically just Monster Hunter and Armored Core. So I'm excited to see another Armored Core with a pile bunker in it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's my thoughts.
So, okay. Like I said, I was able to watch this. I caught the very end, and then I got some of the game reveals and some other stuff after the fact. I am scrolling through the entire show right now, and I do not see a single frame of Jeff Keighley's shoes. And for that,
They do.
I'm gonna have to say,
At the start of the show, they get close to his kicks, and they're pretty. They're like high. They're white platforms.
I don't see them.
Looking
Listen,
good.
if you give me a time code so I can see his kicks,
The very
I
first
will
moments he steps on stage,
retract-
he's sweeping.
I
You see his kicks. He's got bright
I
white kicks
have
on.
I have not seen them yet.
Jeff Keighley's kicks game is on point.
Okay, then you know what? This is another quality show from Jeff and the team.
I will tell you, I was looking for that. I was looking for him walking on stage in quality kicks, and it looked like he did.
Then you know what? Comment retracted. But the fact that I couldn't find it easily is a problem.
Is a shame. Yep.
I agree.
That aside,
Need more wide shots of Jeff standing alone on the stage.
yeah, that aside, we've harped on this a lot, but I think it's good to mention it in the summation. of this show is that too few games got too many awards.
Yeah.
It was kind of 2-3 games getting way too many awards, which and I was saying to this to my group that I kind of just dropped in on last minute to watch the last bit of the show with. I was saying like, well, it seems like a lot of the same games are getting the same awards, and their point was like, yeah, well, it deserves them. And it's like, yes, but also it's just not nearly as much.
We're
of an
comparing
interesting
subjective
show.
things, so when you say it deserves it, there's almost always something else that also deserves it to someone. So
Exactly. And it's a good opportunity to highlight games that like being able to highlight games like Tunic
Metal
uh,
Hellsinger.
or Metal Hellsinger, I feel like is such a missed opportunity because I feel like people who are watching the Game Awards, they may not have heard of those games or played those games, but when they say, "Oh, wow, best debut indie was given to Tunic. Maybe I should check Tunic out," and they'd have a really good time because Tunic is a great game. It's almost like what it starts to feel like is like uh, that sort of like hopium where it's like, yes, I played God of War, I played Elden Ring, it got all the awards, I made a good purchase, and I have good taste in video games.
Yeah.
It's at time. I'm not saying it is designed that way, but what I'm
It
saying
ends
is
up
at
feeling
times
like that.
it comes across as like, yes, you made a good purchase decision, and that's not nearly as much fun to watch.
Yeah.
Oh.
I agree. There's a certain thing too where it's like, okay, there's really no argument. Either God of War or Elden Ring is going to win Game of the Year. Game of the Year. Do they really also need to be winning everything else too? Like, just
Unless there's like a
everybody
super
knows they're the
standout
best.
case of like,
Yeah,
this was the only game that did this year, and it's an award for
exactly.
this type of thing. It feels highly unnecessary
Yeah.
to win other things as well. All right.
Yeah.
That's the end of the show. We're going to do shoutouts now, and then we'll be back next week. Well, you two will be back. I will be gone next week, and then we're going to be on a break for the holidays. January will likely return to normal for a good bit of time. Then February will get weird again with moving, but then be normal. So, rocky road for a little while. But who wants to start with shoutouts?
I'll go.
Go.
I stumbled across this YouTube channel recently called Bad Game Dev, and he does a lot of small, uh, sort of one-man game projects where he tries to recreate Minecraft but for really cheap, or tries to recreate a .io game, or maybe he pays developers on Fiverr to make the same game at different price points to compare and see. It's a really interesting, funny little channel, and if you're at all interested in like the game development process, which I feel like if you're watching us, you may be interested in that sort of thing. I think it's a really like funny, accessible look into how some of that stuff works from time to time, and it's a fun channel to watch.
Right.
I go.
Brett, you got something?
I shout out to yet another show that I finished watching recently. Welcome to the NHK.
Good one.
It's I had to walk around the house after finishing it.
Really think about life afterwards.
Yeah. There are few things that are made in general that deal with really serious concepts like depression and like mental illness and how like society interweaves into that and affects you for every different person. But like to have of all things like an anime that really handles it well. And reading more into it, it seems like the guy who wrote it really like dealt with a lot of that stuff, and that's why it's so personal and successful. So it is very sad for a lot of it because of how unfortunately relatable it can be. But if I would genuinely say, if you are in bad times in the headspace right now, welcome to the NHK will probably help you out of it because it was really, really, really freaking good.
All right, I gotta give my shout out to Dwarf Fortress because it's out on Steam. It has UI and mouse controls, and I have officially delved my first delving into Dwarf Fortress and its inner complexities. And almost managed to not die before I realized I'd forgotten to give my animals anywhere to graze and had stuck them inside a box under the ground without a way out, and they all died, and I didn't have any food, so my colony is gone. But hey, losing's fun, and next time, take care of your animals and don't just forget about them in a cave.
We learn from these sorts of mistakes.
You know, everyone was all sad. I'm like, what's happening? And then realized they're sad because all the animals died. I'm like, why all the animals died? Oh, I locked them in a cave. That's why. Because I set their grazing ground as in a cave instead of in the grass that they eat. So, you know, sometimes a little bit of common sense goes a long way. Maybe I should have questioned whether or not a horse needs to be underground or above ground. But you know
Listen,
what?
those rocks full of nutrients, dude.
Full of nutrients.
Just a picky horse.
Yep, Picky Horse didn't want to eat them rocks. All right. Well, on that note, as always, Tuesday mornings at 7 p.m. We've been changing it up because it's working better for some reason. I guess people like to listen at night. So, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, podcast platform of your choice on Tuesdays. Be wonky for the next few weeks, but bear with us as we holiday and whatnot.